Alright, today I'll be showing you guys how to download games on your PS3. I'll be showing you guys how to download different games like game folder format, the games where they're just like straight of game folder and just the files. And I'll show you guys how to install ISOs, how to install PKGs. But first off, if there's any game you guys are looking for and it's available on PKGI, I would recommend downloading the game with PKGI. PKGI has a lot of games. It has a large amount of games, and I personally use it all the time. I download a lot of games on here. This is my first go-to. If I look for any game on here, they have games, they have DLCs, they have themes even. They even have themes for your PlayStation. They have avatars, demos. There's not a lot of updates or emulators, but they have a lot of games and DLCs and stuff. But if your game is not on here, then you're gonna have to download it using your computer. So to download games using your computer, there's different ways of doing it. You could download it using a USB drive and download all your games and from your computer, copy them to the USB drive and plug it into your PS3 and copy the games like that. But I feel like that's pretty slow, especially when you're downloading a lot of games. So what I like to do is use the Ethernet cable. I'll plug one end into the computer and plug the other end into the back of the PS3. That way the PS3 and the computer could just communicate with each other. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go to my computer, go into my settings, go into network and internet, and then go to Ethernet. Plug in your Ethernet, go to IP settings. Right here, IP assignment, and press edit. Change your IP settings to manual. Put IPv4 and change your IP address to 1.1.1.1. Change your subnet mask to 255.255.255.0. So you want it to be exactly like this. You want it to say 1.1.1.1, 255.255.0. Leave everything else blank and just press save. It'll save, and you know it's saved when it says it right here. Make sure it's not automatic. Make sure it's on manual. Make sure it has these settings. When you're done with that, you can click out of your settings and you can go back onto your PlayStation. And we're gonna go into the network settings. We're gonna go into setup a connection. We're gonna go custom. We're gonna go wired. We're gonna go just put manual, put it on auto detect, put manual. But this one, you want to put it exactly like this. You want to put 1.1.1.2, exactly like how your computer was, but you put a 2. So your computer is a 1, your PS3 is a 2. Put 255.255.0, exactly the same. For your default router, put 1. For all these, put 1.1.1.1 for your primary DNS and your secondary. Then you go ahead and press automatic, do not use, enable, and your settings should look like this. We're going to go ahead and press test connection. We're going to let it test. We got our succeeded. Now we can go ahead and go on to MULTIMAN. If you don't have MULTIMAN, you could download it pretty. Yeah, you guys could download MULTIMAN pretty easy. If you guys need help with MULTIMAN, I could personally make a video to show you guys how to install MULTIMAN. It's just one PKG file you have to install. It's a simple installation. When you're on your PS3 MULTIMAN, you want to just go ahead and check your system information, and it should say IP address 1.1.1.2. It should be exactly like that. Now we're going to go ahead and switch to our computer, and we're going to go ahead and bring up our file explorer. We're going to go to our downloads, and these are two games that I've previously downloaded earlier. I have Fight Night Round 4 and WWE SmackDown vs. Raw. So when you download a game, it'll most likely come compressed in a zip format, just to save space. And I always use 7-zip to extract my games. But if you guys don't have 7-zip, you could just go on Google and literally search up 7-zip, follow the download, select what type of system you have, download 7-zip. It's very simple. Set up 7-zip. Now we go ahead and we want to go ahead and go to our 7-zip. If you have a lot of files, I usually go ahead and press extract here, or if you want them to be in separate folders, put them to separate folders. I'm going to go ahead and extract them all here and wait for everything to extract. Okay, once your 7-zip has finished extracting all the games, you can go ahead and delete the two compressed zip format. You don't need these anymore. Now you have, if the game was in a ISO format, a disk image file, then it'll just show up like this. Usually the games come with a readme text. You don't need that. If your game was in a folder, like I think it's called like a JPEG format or some shit like that. Basically, it's gonna be in a folder format, and it'll have the game name with the PS3 game and a PS3 disc, and all the game information, data, and if your game came with DLC, it'll come with maybe a PKG file. So basically, you have a disk image file, and you have your folder format. So we're gonna go ahead and use another application called FileZilla to communicate with your PS3. It's gonna communicate. If you don't have FileZilla, you could download FileZilla. Download's very simple too, just like 7-zip. We're gonna go ahead and open up FileZilla, go to host, press 1.1.2, the name of your PS3. We're gonna hit connect, and it should connect. If you guys are having trouble, comment down below, but I could probably help you guys out. But you should connect, and you should see all your PS3 information. You should see dev HD 1, 0, 3, 2, flash, home, dev rewrite. We want dev HD 0. This is the important one. This has all your files in here that we need. We open this up. We have all these other files. We have themes. We have ISOs, PSP ISOs, PS1 ISOs, PS3 ISOs, PS2 ISOs. So if you wanted to play any of those games, let's say you had a PSP ISO or a PS2 ISO, you would just copy your ISO folder into here. We got packages, where we could copy over package files. I actually have a couple package files just sitting in here. We have games. This is where you download your game folder, your folder format games. Like the one I was showing you earlier, like I had Fight Night Round 4 in the folder format. This is where you would copy those games at. And then none of this other stuff is really important besides X data. This would be like all your wrap files for all your PKG games. Every PKG game needs a license. This is where you would copy all your licenses at. Like if you downloaded a PKG game and it came with a wrap file, if it came with one of these files, this is where you would copy them at. So we're gonna go ahead and copy over Fight Night Round 4. So we're gonna go into the games. So we're gonna go into games. We're gonna go ahead and find Fight Night Round 4. You want to make sure it's the folder that has the PS3 game into it. So if you hover over it, it'll say PS3 game, and it'll say files, PS3 disk. Usually you want this folder. You don't want this folder, you want this one right here in the middle. We're gonna go ahead and copy this over, and if you have everything set up over LAN Ethernet, you should get fast transfers. Right now I have mine set to download, I think like 5 of them at a time. Yeah, 5 at a time is downloading, but we can set that to 1. So now it's going to download 1 at a time. We can set it to by size. So usually when I'm downloading a lot of games and let's say I'm downloading like 13,000, 15,000 games, and I have like 100 gigabytes trying to queue. A lot of those files are really small, like how these ones are small. I'll go ahead and filter by size, and I'll go ahead and go to edit, settings, transfers, and I'll set this to usually like 10, but sometimes my computer will freeze and I'll have to restart the app, and so usually I set it at like maybe 5. It all depends on you. You could play around with that and figure out which one works best for you. I usually keep it at like 5, and I'll download 5 at a time. I feel like that works best for all the small files. But when you get to the big files, like the .iso files and all those files, you want to do them one at a time. I feel like when you start trying to do 2 at a time, it slows it down too much. So I'm getting usually about like 15 megabytes per second transfer speed. And these are all pretty small files, but if I were to let me copy over, I have some PKG. If you had any type of packages you wanted to install, you would go into the packages. You would go inside of here, take your PKG file, and just copy it over. Simple. I'm actually not sure what this is. I don't. Yeah, you don't really need that. But if you had a .iso, one of these games, it's just one big file, 11 gigabytes. This one is a 3 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte file, but it's all small files. This was like 60 small files. This is just one big file. So usually I'll transfer those one at a time. We're going to go ahead and go to PS3 ISO. Take your ISO, just copy it over. And now I'm actually getting about 18 megabytes per second right now. It all just depends. Usually I get about 16, 17, sometimes a little higher, but it all depends on your PS3 and your Ethernet cable and your computer. It all depends. Yeah, but usually I could download it with about 100 gigabytes in about 2 hours, 3 hours. Like I can download hundreds of gigabytes. This is my fastest method I have found. So I'll get back to you when these have finished downloading. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys that I'm downloading a 11 gigabyte, 12 gigabyte file, and it's only taken about 10 minutes to copy over this file. I've only been 20 seconds ago this started. It only takes about 10 minutes to copy over a 10 gigabyte file, 12 gigabyte file. So if that gives you some kind of imagination to how fast it is or whatever, if you're transferring over 100 gigabytes, it'll probably take about 1 hour for 100. If you had to transfer over 300, it'll probably take about 3 hours. That's usually about how fast I transfer over games using this method. Okay, so I actually did the math off camera, and if you did have 100 gigabytes worth of files and you were transferring at 18 megabytes per second, it would take about 1 hour and 30 minutes just to copy over 100 gigabytes. And I'm not sure how long it would take on a USB, but I know you would have to copy it to the USB first, and that takes some time, and then copy it to the PS3, which that takes some time. And I always feel like copying to the PS3 is kind of hard to do. It gets like unreliable, especially using like MULTIMAN and stuff. But yeah, my file is finished. It took 11 minutes 30 seconds. We could go ahead and click out X out of FileZilla. We could go ahead and go back to our PS3. It has been waiting for us. And if you had copied the game using the folder format, it will show up here in MULTIMAN if you press refresh. It'll show up here. Your ISO 2 will show up here. Both folders, both games should show up here. So let's see. I have WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. The ISO. As you can see, it's an ISO image. Next, I also have, where is it at? Fight Night 4. which doesn't have no images. I'm still trying to figure out why these don't have images. I'm trying to figure out how to fix this. But we go ahead and load our game. We'll go ahead and start it up. So back on the home screen, back on the PS3 home screen, I loaded up. We go ahead and press Webman Games. Our games are not going to show up here until we refresh Webman. Just gotta refresh Webman Games and the XMB. And to actually refresh the XMB home screen, we gotta like switch accounts, or if you're on EvilNet custom firmware, it should do it by itself. Sometimes it does it by itself too on hand too, or switch. But yeah, we have. So now we have Fight Night 4. We have WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. We go ahead and load the game up. The game loads up. We have our game there. We go ahead and load up Fight Night Round 4. Which actually is saying corrupted data. This cannot be started. So I'm actually not sure why this data is corrupted. I actually don't know what happened. I'm not sure. Maybe I downloaded a bad game. Guess I'll have to reinstall this game. Okay then, so I had to go ahead and download the game from somewhere else. I had to re-download the game and download it from somewhere else, but I got it working now. Sometimes when you're downloading games from different places, and you have all these different types of games and ISOs, and some of them could just mess up sometimes, especially after long times of them being, I don't know, just games go bad. So I went ahead and downloaded the game from a different place. I got it working now. Fight Night Round 4 game data is installed into the PS3, and then it'll go ahead and start up. But that's basically how I download every single type of game. Well, that's not every type of game. That's how you install your game folder format games, the ones that are in their folder format, like my Fight Night Round 4. Or if you're installing like an ISO game, like WWE for example. If you had to install PKG files, I'll go ahead and go into Package Manager, install package files, and then you can go ahead and go to Standard, or where is it at? PS3 System Storage. Right here is all the PKG files I installed. We have Fight Night Round 4, all DLC, PKG. You just go ahead and select it and install your PKGs. That's basically it for the video though. If there's any other type of videos you guys want me to make, please comment them down below, and I will go ahead and try to make the video.